Hi, I'm Steve Deace. So if you're looking for a summer worldview camp, this is the place to be. July 16th through the 20th, we're going to encourage your kids to become the next generation of cultural leaders. We've got pastors like Douglas Wilson, filmmakers, cultural critics and commentators like myself and Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. Sign up at calledconference.ninja. Again, Moscow, Idaho, July 16th through the 20th, calledconference.ninja.
Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
We've gathered together in the past the twilight, in the dead night, past Starbucks being open.
Yeah. I had to get McDonald's coffee.
We just drove through McDonald's to get Becca a coffee, and we pull up at the little order board, and the voice from within the order board says, says, I'm going to need some quarters and a bathroom break. And then we just sat there in silence for a second, and then I said, well, I hope that works out for you. And then the poor guy just died and was like, wrong button, but then he was the girl in the background. There was someone providing a nonstop laugh track at him, and so we all got very killed, but he fled the scene before we got to his window.
Oh, it was good. It was a little delightful episode.
It was one of those precious little gifts, one of those moments.
It was good time.
One time, and I don't know why this reminds me of this, except for we were at a conference in Portland, I think, many moons ago, long time ago, and the waiter were at this dinner, and they were serving iced tea in goblets, like in stemmed goblets. Mm-hmm. I mean, like a water, just a stemmed cup with lemons. And the waiter comes up behind me and says, would you like an iced tea? And I was like, oh, sure, yeah, thanks. So he takes one off close to him. He takes one off close to him, which overbalanced the whole tray. And the entire tray of goblets of iced tea and lemons came over the back of my neck. Totally drowned my whole dinner. Just soaked me. Ice all over and lemons all over. And my whole plate done. And it was very... Oh man, bad pun. I was going to say it was very brisk, but it probably was Lipton brisk. Anyways, it was a bit of a shock, but he also just turned around and ran away. Fled the scene, did not want to be there, and sent someone else out to clean it up.
Oh, that's bad.
For a full minute, I was there trying to get myself out of the lemons and the ice cubes before anybody else came along to trade out my plate.
Oh, that's good.
Anyways,
yep.
Yep, it's when funny. You get to be a prop in someone else's embarrassing moment.
Oh, it's awesome. It's a blessing. But so we should say that we did not, in fact, perish last week.
Sorry about that.
How did we? Yeah, we just never.
We actually can't even recall what happened last week, which might be a sign.
It was such a breezy week that we didn't even...
We've heard from some of you, dear people, that you begin praying for us when we never get a podcast episode up. You assume we are struggling.
I think I would go ahead and say you assume correctly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably true. That's probably a good sign.
No, but last week I was doing that big dinner party, and I don't know what you were doing, but life was...
Probably nothing.
Along.
I was probably at the spa.
Probably.
I think that was it.
That's usually what you're doing.
That's most of my afternoons.
This week, though, I'll be real. It's Sunday night right now. We're staring down the barrel of the week.
We're in that part.
The week that I have long felt was going to kill me flat was this week.
Because it's a big one.
It's a big one. We've got a lot of things right after one another. And either way, by Friday, I feel like the worst will be over. So, come what may,
one way or
Friday,
another,
we may be recounting the
So-
embarrassing failures of the previous week. I don't know.
Well, it's like no matter how much we don't clear the hurdles, at least we will have gone past them in the race.
We may have fallen
We
on
might
the
bite
hurdle.
it. We might, you know.
Could have happened, but yeah, we've got a number of other festivals we've got to get through here.
Quitting on this week is not an
No,
option.
remember I spoke before of getting together with 300 eggs to make meringues.
Oh yeah, you did that, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Well, that was all yesterday, and at the end of the day, Carolyn was over helping me. We looked at each other at the end of the day, sort of with that sort of sticky film that you have
Yeah.
on everything. We were making lemon curd, vast quantities of lemon curd, and then meringue. And we looked at each other at the end of it, and we were like, here's the 300 eggs. I think we had only gotten through 84.
Get out. How big of
Yeah.
batches are you doing?
Well, that was the problem. We were doing too big of batches because we started by doing like 24 egg whites at a time because I've got 2 ovens and I have 3 racks in
Okay.
each. But the meringues do not like to be bunched in the
Oh, no, they're
ovens.
probably worse
it's
than,
like too much moisture in the same oven.
No, because they're like, it's a thing. Like if you're searing meat, you don't want it
Yeah,
too
you don't
close
want
because
it.
it
No,
starts steaming
you got it.
each other.
We were like,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna have to give them more room and more time, and so we had to scale back to like a dozen at a time, which worked. And I have another dozen egg whites worth in my oven right now as we speak, and so it'll be fine. Actually, I think we're in a good place for finishing off in time. But the lemon curd involved a huge silver, like metal mixing bowl as the top of the double boiler. I used my Rhinormous soup pot as the bottom half
Yeah.
of the double boiler, and then my giant thing on the top.
It's kind of like a behemoth
60
boiler.
Yeah, so 64 egg yolks in the top. And I had my kids juicing lemons. They juiced like 140 lemons. So anyway, and zested a whole bazillion of them. So we got we got 2 batches of 64 yolks in. And so I've got a lot of lemon curd in my fridge, but it involves standing on a stool in order to get a better angle on the top of the double boiler, because you have to whisk it constantly,
Becca,
So-
why didn't you just do this in the microwave?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. It seems like it would have been so much
But we were
easier.
using just a hand mixer, which was fine. It was just you have to stand there on the stool for like 20 minutes with your little mixer.
Yeah.
But it's gloriously good lemon curd. It's really good. And the
Good. You
meringues,
should have brought some.
if only I had, with some straws and could have sipped on it.
Would helped us focus on this podcast.
Anyways, so that was where I was spending my days yesterday, and it's where I'll be spending
So-
a few days here still to come.
We're in the clean out the house, but just insofar as you make worse messes. phases.
Oh, I did
We're
that.
in the how much stuff could we haul out of the areas to make everything else look horrible, and then end the day, because that's part of the whole moving phenomenon. It's that discovering all the things that you wonder why you still have.
Oh, yeah.
And anyways, but the brilliant part of my plan was I've been knowing we'll have to do a yard sale, so we're putting all this stuff in the garage, but then the staging area in the garage was getting out of control,
Sure. Yeah.
So yesterday I just posted on the 2 church Facebook groups that we were having a preview yard sale for people
Oh, yeah,
for
I saw
2
that.
hours,
Yeah.
in our driveway. So we just pulled the stuff out, and nothing was priced. We just pulled the stuff out of the garage, and people came by and took our junk, and Square Cash just money. And I was like, what kind of a racket have we gotten into?
That's
People,
awesome.
somebody took our broken bikes. Knowing that they were broken, knowing they had
is
troubles.
ideal. That's
they
really
took
ideal.
them, and we were like, please,
Yeah.
no, don't pay me for that. You just drive that away. You
Yeah.
just take that with you. Yeah.
That's really good.
That was great. So that was a
No,
good,
but see,
that
here's what
relieved
I
a
did.
little bit of pressure.
Last weekend, I don't know what kind of, non-linear way I was thinking, but I was like, I'm going to rearrange my bedroom and really kind of get to the heart of some of this problem. Because, it starts to accumulate layers of,
Yeah.
you just need to really roll up your sleeves and go in and get
well,
it done.
at least in my life, it's layers of the odd bag of
Yeah.
something you need to return.
And then there's the
Yeah.
receipt pile, and then
Yeah.
there's and I have a really unfortunate half upholstered couch sitting in my bedroom because there's nowhere
That'll
else
bring the mood down.
It brings the mood way down, but there's nowhere else to stick it. And then the problem is, like, I have to reupholster it.
Haven't you been cleaning out your attic? You could just put it up
Well,
there.
that's why I started cleaning my attic, but I'm not done yet.
I think you should put it up there until one of your girls
Later
finds
in life,
it and
yeah.
is like, I want to
Yeah.
reupholster. And you'll be
But
like,
see,
let me bless you with
It's
that.
a really cool couch that was grandma's, and I like it, and I want to reupholster it, but it's halfway done. I've got to start over. It's long, sordid stories about choosing the wrong fabric. Anyway, so it's sitting in the bedroom, but you know how that is. Like, it just ends up having a laundry basket on it, and then you set the box that came from Amazon. You know, it's not good. It's
broken
not a good
window
thing.
theory.
Yeah, so
But it's
then,
just starting with a broken picture window.
last weekend, I was like, I'm gonna charge into this. Why? I don't know, because I didn't have enough time to actually get anything really accomplished. But what I did do is pull everything out, make a huge level mess, and then not have time to do anything else about it. And basically, I'm looking at my life going, it might be July before I can come back around to this.
That's kind of a
It's
depressing
not
thought.
good.
So I
It's
feel
not
like you
good.
should give yourself like 10 minutes a day. Just get up 10 minutes earlier to clean your bedroom.
If I had 10 minutes a day, I would do it.
Well, I'll call
Any-
you
any
earlier.
10
I'll call you
minutes.
10 minutes earlier than you were
Yeah.
going to get up.
Any
And-
10 minutes I have, I will be cracking eggs. That's what I'll be doing.
Oh, man.
I know.
Good times.
It
good
is.
times.
It is. It's amazing. We'll get it.
I'm in
It'll be
the
amazing.
excitement of, so we planned the Bible reading challenge. We're getting near the end of the Bible reading challenge. We're rounding the
We
final
are.
huzzah to have read the whole Bible since September,
Yeah.
which is really great. And I love so many things about it that I don't even, it's like hard to know where to begin of talking about what you love about it. But we are also not quitting for the summer. So this challenge ends in May, but then we are going to start June 3rd with the summer challenge, which is just going to be reading through the New Testament in the summer. And I'm really excited. I'm excited about this because if we'll start again in the fall with the whole Bible. So this would mean that if you do the challenge with us, then that would mean that you're reading through the entire Bible once in the New Testament. Well, the Old Testament once and the New
additionally through,
Testament
yeah.
twice. If you do, so the New Testament challenge in the summer is going to be 4 chapters a day, and with a parenthetical 2 extra chapters that you can read because the whole Bible is a 6 chapter a day pace. I'm sure there are women who don't want to drop back again on that. And so if you do the 6 chapters, it will mean that you're reading through the whole New Testament, but a bunch of the epistles 3 times. So you'll do a bunch of reading there. And then for the whole summer, we're doing Saturday and Sunday. Both are days off. Sunday is always a day off in the other plan because we're assuming that you're worshiping and hearing the word on Sunday. Saturday is, instead of the catch-up days, Saturday is a day off all through the summer, but it is, we're putting in a verse for meditation or memorization, like a couple verses.
Oh, fun.
So, memorization, if you're into that. Meditation, if you just want to reflect on it, read it throughout the day, was kind of the idea. Read it through the week, just meditate on that passage. So, yeah, so I'm very excited. I hope some of you who maybe have your, maybe you're at a good place to join us if you haven't done it, or if you are in the middle of the other one, way to go. We're almost done. And one of my favorite things about it is we did it and now we're not stopping.
Yeah, that's very fun.
Done and let's keep going, because just think how fast 10 years go by.
Mm-hmm.
You're just think to have read your Bible 10 or the Old Testament 10 times and the New Testament 20 times in 10 years, that will change a person, and we'll do it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so join us. But part of the planning of that, this is when I make myself everyone's least favorite person, because I start texting everyone hello, yes, can you do the graphics now?
Oh, is this your subtle way of telling me to get on the stick?
Well, you've got to do that, but I text.
design?
Yeah, I do also text more people than just you. I text other people too about it.
Well, everyone, she's been alerting me.
and hopefully, Lord willing, in the summer we're also launching the French version.
Yeah, fun.
So translating it in the reading plan into French, and the weekly emails will be translated into French.
Yeah, very cool.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, did you have something that we were supposed to talk about?
I don't know. We haven't really...
I gave my plug for the Bible reading challenge, so we could just call it a day now. That'll do.
I know. I could start itemizing more of the things I have to do this week. But
tomorrow we're going for Dad's surgery. So, I guess by the time any of you hear this, it will be past.
Over.
But still appreciate prayers that the cancer would be not invasive and that it would be easily treatable.
Yep.
And that it would not be, we're willing for it to be as hard as God wants it to be, but still asking Him to spare Dad a lot of that. He has, So anyways, appreciate the prayers on that.
Tomorrow, and then we've got our big President's Dinner on Wednesday, and I've already made all the table runners.
It's going to be really hard for me because I have to attend that delicious dinner. It's going to be super hard.
But I've already made all the runners, and they turned out really fun. I really like them.
I'm excited. I want one.
And
how do you get them? Do you have to buy them at this thing?
No, they do. They raffle them.
How am I going to win? Can you stack the deck for me?
I'll pull some strings to make sure.
We didn't go to this dinner last year because we were in Malibu bringing Nate back from his brain surgery.
Back from Malibu. So anyway, those are done. That's very exciting. And then on Thursday is the NSA graduation, and that's where I'm doing the reception and all of the. That's why I'm organizing the desserts and all of that little piece of excitement. So Thursday night, though, we will have gotten over those hurdles.
We'll be like home free.
Home free.
Then when you
we only have
so Thursday night, why don't you come help me pack?
Ha ha ha. She laughed wanly. Yeah, I've got this trip to England coming up where I'm pretty sure we're all going to just go in our, pajamas that night and say, well, we'll just buy clothes in England because we didn't have time to pack.
Ooh, that's a good idea. It's a fancy idea.
No, sometime in there we'll get it. And then, we still have to get through finals and graduation, and Jemima's graduating, so she needs a graduation dress.
This is the time of year when
she's valedictorian.
Oh,
I'm just going to pause to say that. I know, I'm so proud of her, but she's writing a speech, and we got to get her a dress, and then you have to do the graduation table, and just so many things. So there's lots of pieces. There's a lot of that. Yeah, you can't forget that your daughter's graduating because you're overcome with meringues.
Yeah, that's important to not. It's important. It's one of those things that you should keep a grip on. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's the time of year where our kids are all like, but I have to have a bike helmet by tomorrow at 8. You're like, wait, what? Why? And they're like, why don't I have a bike that fits me right now? And you're like, wait, what? And it's like, class bike trip is happening tomorrow.
We'll just wad up some tinfoil and put it on your head.
Do we still have a styrofoam cooler in the garage?
Whittle that into sort of a circle shape.
Bike helmets is kind of a perennial angst at my house because my children have huge heads. Not just my children, but all of us have huge heads. And
it's a family problem.
Hopefully only in one way. But, my it would always be like our head size is off the charts at the doctor's office. It's just funny.
I remember when they measured me for the graduation cap. They were like, whoa.
Well, I remember.
Really? Is that why no hat has ever fit my head?
Becca's obviously on my side of the family. I don't know. Are you bigger headed than I am, or are we
tell
tied?
Me this. Have you ever been able to wear a hat?
Because not really. Usually, no.
No hat has ever fit my head.
Well, I can't tell if that's because my head's so big or if I just look really bad in hats. But either way, what the funny part to me is that we. So we would take our 3-year-old to try to get a bike helmet, and you're like, well, we should probably round up to 5 to 8-year-old size.
Yeah.
You get that thing, and just no way is that going to get on our 3-year-old's head. So you end up having to buy a 15-year-old's helmet for a 3-year-old, and it gets a little silly up and down. So
anyway, you were saying something about, this was a few days ago. You're like, here's what I have to say about minimalism, and then we both began to go off, and then we were like, no, let's save it for the podcast.
we should talk about it on the podcast. I'll tell you, I made a witty joke upon the Instagram tonight.
She blessed herself,
I blessed myself. It was one of those ones where I probably should have held back because I was too amused by myself. But my Clinique face soap, which I love. If you don't use Clinique face soap, get yourself out there and get some.
I used to use it. but
And you don't like it?
no, it's not that I don't like it. I just
Well,
not
that
my
was
best.
because you moved on to Cindy Crawford's line of beauty products.
I've already told
She's
my
already
embarrassing
plugged.
secret.
Every once in a while, I see I think I was at Panda Express and saw an ad of Cindy Crawford
And you're like,
doing
well,
it, and I was like, she snookered Becca.
Somebody-
she got my sister
somebody out there
with
is
this
using
TV infomercial. Cindy Crawford roped back in.
No, it wasn't the infomercial that got me. It was eBay.
All right. So, anyways,
Moving
the point
on.
is, my Clinique soap. It's a hard soap,
Yeah,
so
and
it
it
lasts
dries your
for.
skin a little bit out, like chaps it out a bit. That's how I felt about it.
No, it actually, I should tell you a story about that. Well, they have like 3 different. There's like mild and medium, and then more. So like,
Yeah.
it would only chap your skin out if you were using a more aggressive one than you ought to.
Which I probably was.
Probably. But one time I went in to buy a new one at the beauty counter, and you know how it is. It was like I had to run into. It was when Macy's was still here, and I had to run in there like late at night sometime as you struggle bus your way into the beauty counter, which is really not really what you want to do. Is like meet up with the person who full time manages their face while you at the end of a long hard day, you know. But I'm in there nonetheless, and I'm like, I need just a face soap, but I was like, I want just I think I used the number 1. It's like the mild one, you know. Like I was like, this is the one I want, and she looks at me, she's like, are you sure that you don't need the one for oily skin or something? And I was like, no, I don't. And it was like a really funny moment where you're like
second guessing
do I look
yourself a
super
little bit?
oily right now to you?
Would it
And
improve me if
I'm
I
like,
did?
What am I doing something wrong? And she was like, well, are you sure that you don't need this other number? And I'm like, well, I don't think. However, it came up, the beauty professional sold me the one for oilier skin, and then I just did chap my face off and had to go back the next day and be like, wrong soap, I'm dying. Like, this is not it. But all of this, back to her
witticism.
Back to my, so my,
Her
it's hard
Instagram
soap.
wit.
It's just that my soap had gotten down to like the size of one of those
Like a little stick of gum, like kind of a
Wrigley's,
Wrigley's, like a Wrigley's
it wasn't
gum.
in no way that thick. It was probably like a no. Oh yeah, it was kind of similar,
like
I guess, to
Wrigley's.
Wrigley's. It was
Yeah.
small, a little smaller than that, thinner, but anyways.
If you'd sucked on your Wrigley's for
So
a while.
I posted a picture of myself holding it, saying like, I've been really pursuing minimalism lately, like, and so this is what my Clinique face soap is looking like, and that half of it was not bringing me joy and was too much clutter, so I accidentally washed it down the drain. Hashtag mindfulness. But the point I was making the other day to Becca, as I was saying, the problem with minimalism is that it is a different kind of maximalism.
Oh, it's all kinds of maximalism.
It's just you trade out one category of too much for a different category of too much.
Yeah.
If I have to decide on one pair of shoes for all occasions for each of my children, then that is like 70 hours of labor on the internet, right? Like so much. And then you have to
probably,
research what's going to be the most durable, perfect one pair of shoes.
Cost effective.
Yes,
dollars
because
per
you're
square
like,
inch.
because you start being like, we can only have one, we must choose wisely.
That you're doing division problems to find out how much does
or-
each wear cost me.
Right, and you end up in a place where you have the whole like mindfulness comment is like, but do I want all of my mind in how I'm managing the produce drawer? Because surely there's more out there for my mind to be stressing out about. Like, surely I should push, not.
No,
It's
but
just that to be that thoughtful and careful about everything all the time is not minimalism. It is spending all of your thought and energy on the littlest things in your life.
Yeah. Which is nothing. It's not like there's anything wrong with it. If you're a person that really loves wide open, bare spaces in your apartment, go for the gold. But it's like, it's the kind of person who obsesses and
it would probably be easier to be minimalistic if you were living by yourself when you were in a minimalistic
but
life.
I just mean the kind of the super trendy minimalism right now is very much maximalism, but sort of directed slightly elsewhere.
Well, I read that. I don't remember if we talked about this on the podcast. Did we? I remember saying
Hard
I
to
mentioned
say.
an article. Well, anyways, there was an article that was about this that I thought was really insightful. That was just saying that minimalism is for the rich. And it was basically saying that the richer people you see, the less they carry with them. Like, it was basically like you have your money, so you don't really need to bring everything else with you all the time. But the person who doesn't have money will need a backpack with their water bottle from home.
And
Because
their
they don't
lunch.
want to pay $5.80 for a water bottle in the city.
Right.
Or they're saying, poorer people may actually need to have a second model of their car jacked up on cinder blocks in the yard because they might be trying to repair their car with the parts from that. And it was just saying that, or keeping random things in the junk drawer because you might need them and you might not have the money to go buy
But
that.
I will admit freely, though, that I could use a little bit more mindful minimalism in my life right now because it's all, there's a way of having it all snarl out of control, which a couple corners of my house are a little bit that way. Like I said, my room pulled a little bit apart. But
I'm actually a real purger. It's like a hobby of mine is getting rid of things I'm not using. But I do have a way of using too many things.
Sure, but there's also the kind of life that obsesses over smudges or something in a way that isn't actually minimal.
No, and I think that if you invest way too much meaning in like your 3 tank tops for the summer, you really are just spending yourself on really small things. Like being too caught up in the tiny decisions of your life.
Yeah, unless you're like naturally just really good at that and you can do it without. Although, on the flip side, when we were moving to England, the first time we were just going with our suitcases and it had to be like our entire life boiled down into the suitcases. And so I really did have to think through what exactly are the bare minimum requirements for each of my children because everybody was under like 6 at the time or 7. Knox was probably 7 and Judah was 1. So really had to be everybody needs to have 2 pairs of jeans, this many shirts, something to wear to church, a raincoat, whatever. And so I made sure to everybody had this exactly what they needed. And it was a really lovely thing to know that when we got there, it was everybody had the clothes that fit. Everybody's were new all at the same time. You know what I mean? It was really nice.
Yeah, but I like that also.
For a minute, it was nice because then it gets old and then you start buying stuff and then, by the time...
But life is messier than that.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing is that those are those little mountaintop moments.
Yeah.
But I was laughing because we're going through a major transitional time in all the ways right now. We're moving. We have things going on family-wise. There's a lot of transitions with mom and dad moving into grandpa's house and us moving. All of this, that we're trying to build. And then we have a daughter going into high school and another one going into junior high. And it's it is a season change. It's every kind of season change.
Yeah.
Well, this time of year, I always get creamed by this. And this is how it happens. The laundry just about chokes me out of my life. And I'm not a big saver of hand-me-downs, but if people have decent shorts at the end of short season, I do stack them in their closet or save them somewhere in case it will fit them again. Well, so what happens is I have endless amounts of laundry and all of it is the wrong ones. There's a ton of dirty clothes, but it is hot outside now and I am washing thermal long sleeve shirts and wool socks, and I'm wondering why that's happening. Then the kids are asking me, don't I have shorts? So then we're pulling out all of the clothes from last year. So now we add to the mix of all the winter clothes, we add all the summer clothes that fit no one.
Yeah.
Now that's out.
Yeah.
So now we're is there anything else we could bring out of places
what I'm
right now?
facing is I've got 3 high school daughters. It just is hitting short season. And once again, it is brought home to me that
Tiny short shorts are not the ones.
You can't find a decent short that's cute. It is impossible. What's happening in the world?
But I don't know why they
it's
soar from
impossible.
3-inch inseams to Bermudas.
Well, yeah.
Couldn't we find something more?
That's kind of mid-cute.
I looked for 5. inch.
Yeah.
That's a good length.
But I just mean, well, and the problem is sometimes, depending on how tall you are, well, obviously,
Yes.
and I've got
Some are
three
too
tall
tiny.
girls, and so proportionate. I mean, the proportions matter. If you've got a little short, cute something, then the same 3 inches of inseam
Yeah, they're not going to
covers
do it.
proportionately quite a bit more thigh or whatever. But no, it's like, once again, we're at the place of being like, shoot, it's summer and it's hard to find
Yeah, it
things
is hard.
that are cute and decent and,
Yeah.
serviceable.
I feel like I went through I did it where we pulled out all the wool socks and pulled out all the inappropriately warm clothing. Last year, Shad straight up gave himself heat exhaustion because I was such a bad mom that he kept putting on sweatshirts and stuff, and I was thinking for sure he'll figure it out that this is not comfortable, but he was not figuring it out, and he kept overdressing for every occasion. And then I was like, man, you don't look so great. And then he was like, he actually got like heat exhaustion from overdressing. And I would tell him, I'd be like, you should put shorts on, and he was like, no, because I am hot. And I was like, well, that's how you do it when you're hot. This is what happens when it's been a long winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, this year I've been making him drink and be like, wait. But he did get out the door to church today in a flannel shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Which was an accident on my part. It was like, dang it, I thought I checked everybody before they got out the door, but I didn't.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So anyways, back to minimalism. I think that there's a way of thinking that you're going to be like the temptation with minimalism. If it's not just something you prefer, like I prefer Italian food, or I prefer, like this is just a way of life. I like this way of life. Mm-hmm. I think I actually kind of lean towards minimalism anyways. I'm a person who like chooses a Dansko shoe and wears it till it dies.
Sure.
So that's,
Danskos never die though, so that's hard to do.
That is true. There is a point there. Anyways, if it's not just something that you lean into easily like that, it's just so easy to become like a weird, like perfectionistic idolatry about how important every little decision that I'm making is this big of a deal.
But see, I think that, like, you can imagine somebody saying, I like Italian food, and that's fine, and they are perfectly able to understand other people who like Chinese food more than Italian food. And they might disagree, but they still understand where it falls in the general scheme
importance
of the universe.
Of life. Yeah.
But if you are the kind of person who's a minimalist looking down from your lofty heights about anybody else who's not.
But oftentimes, I think it's not so much that a minimalist is being superior to everyone else. They think they're being radically superior to their own selves before the great change.
It's like some kind of misdirected guilt.
Yeah, they're like, now I have finally broken free of the bonds of my...
I feel like sometimes it can almost be like a strange echo of some of those medieval monks who would like climb up and sit on a pole for 30 years.
I'm going to do something really strangely exhausting and introspective and difficult
because the material world is vile.
It is so tied up, like philosophically in our time, it is so tied up with guilt because people are guilty about living in a wealthy culture. They're guilty about having possessions they're not using in some way. They're guilty about the origins of those possessions. Like it starts to be like, well, I can't buy my one true t-shirt from a factory overseas. Like I have to, everything has to become I have to have every single movement of mine has to be able to be traced all the way back to its God-glorifying origins.
And I don't know if the people...
going to have to embrace nature completely.
The people who were making these fibers into threads, there might have been a lot of sin involved.
We're going to have to get out some purification thoughts over this whole thing. Because it really is that way. Like, it's like, I'm going to take on the burden for perfect godliness of some kind, perfect performance.
I do think that it immediately, like, you're right, it's about yourself. It's about people trying to earn themselves some kind of like little gold stars in their own notebook. But
yeah.
then they immediately do turn around and feel superior.
They do. But if you aren't doing that yet, you're probably doing it to yourself. You're probably being like, at least I'm not like I was last month.
Sure.
Like, at least I finally got rid of the bulletin board that was so bad in my life, causing my mind
But
to
like, I
feel
remember one time
encumbered by the activities of others.
It's like I was talking to a girl, and she only would ever buy clothes from a thrift store, which, fine, whatever, whatever floats your boat, go
Whatever
buy it from
blows your hair back.
whatever, buy it from a thrift store. But the reason she did was because she could not reconcile it with her conscience to buy it from any other store because of potential not fair trade practices that might have gone into the production of the clothing. But I'm like, you didn't actually change that by buying it at the thrift store. It could have still had a sordid backstory, and you just...
But I bought it off of someone else.
Yeah, you bought it for cheap. So I like...
The sad part about that is that I think that these are the things... This is where it gets really complicated for people, because I don't feel guilty at all buying what is available to me without checking its entire backstory of its whole origin story, whether it's all ethical, whatever. I feel no guilt about that. But that is not the same thing as saying that we don't believe that there should be ethical
such
practices,
a thing as ethics.
or we don't believe, we don't believe, it's not that. But we do believe that Christians going weirdly inward and guilty will change nothing. No. Or Christians turning into the great accusers of the brethren is also not gonna...
I think there's a lot of parallels with meat sacrificed to idols.
Obviously, because
the thing is, if you can eat the meat which the man in the little back room offered up to an idol, and it did not taint the meat, and you can eat it without being defiled, then surely if Walmart in the back room somewhere are tainting their Tupperware,
if they have a little idol of productivity and marketplace,
on the other hand,
cutthroat practices in the marketplace.
On the other hand, you are certainly not allowed to offer your meat up to an idol.
No,
that does taint.
But
you.
I have a thing. Okay, if you're going to bring up food, then this is a long-held theory of mine about food. I haven't been thinking about it though. So
I wasn't really talking about the food. I was talking about the metaphor.
I know, but I want to say it's a metaphor of what you were talking about. So this will be really good. We're going deep into the metaphor woods.
Metric sort of metaphors.
So this is the thing, though, that I think about that, is that I buy food at Winco. I don't feel obligated to be buying organic, or I don't feel, I buy things like that when I actually just value the product, when it's like, I like this item, then I will buy it. But not because of some kind of, not because I have any guilt about buying the Winco store brand powdered sugar if I want to. Whatever. I don't know where it comes from or what they're doing at the factory. I don't know, but I'm buying it. Well, it's true that if you go the gods, you could say that yes, some of those we're just making money, we're just doing this. It's kind of like the idol of industrial effectiveness. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't know, Mars.
Basically,
you know what I mean? You're
mammon.
Yes, there's probably some of that idolatry. But if you go down to the food co-op, the idolatry is all we're worshiping Mother Earth and Venus and whatever. So I'm totally on board with saying both of those places, there's idolatry happening behind it. The problem is when Christians start acting like God is more glorified by this idolatry than by this other one. Like saying God is more glorified by Christians buying the things that were sacrificed to Venus than he is by Christians. Because the problem is you're starting in on the worship if you're saying this is glorifying God. If you're like, this activity is better because even though they're pagan, they're doing something more righteous in God's eyes. And anyways, the point is, I just think that the most effective driving forces for change in the world is gratitude and joy, and it's not guilt and it's not accusations. Those are things that change.
But if you're driven by guilt and fear as you shop, you know that you're on the wrong path already.
Yeah, you're already doing something wrong.
Yeah, if you're scared that you might buy a thing that was tainted, if you're guilty that you might have bought a thing that was tainted, then you're not being grateful to God for the thing that he provided for you.
Yeah, and you're not just, you're also getting trapped into some kind of works righteousness. Like if you do this perfectly, then you won't be guilty.
Right.
Or then God will bless your health. Or then, all of these things.
Right.
And one of the weirdest things that comes up in my mind all the time is that, like, you know what's super unhealthy? Anxiety and worry and fear and stress. Like, those are all things that can cause you physical problems.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure it is, like, healthier to joyfully eat a Twinkie than it is to get yourself in an angsty net trying to work on your gut biomes with charcoal powders and pumice stones. Like I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm like pretty sure that whatever you're doing right there is not going to avail you good health.
The thing is, whatever you're choosing, whatever you're buying, if you're doing it with gratitude and not with a looking down your nose at your neighbor who bought something else, and without feeling like you've just earned a point in heaven.
And whichever you're doing, do it to the glory of God.
Yeah.
Like, do it without the idol involved. Do it with, like, I'm faithfully trying to feed my family, and I'm not worried. On the other hand,
I have no problem with, like, let's say I was buying my chicken from a local butcher, and I discovered that he was, like, maliciously persecuting the chickens. Well, I'd be like, fine, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm not gonna buy your I'm not gonna subsidize that.
You've got a problem, man. Like, this is not
On the other hand, if I didn't know and I bought the chicken, I am not guilty about that. And so and oftentimes I think we're easily spooked by scary headlines we saw on Walmart. I'm looking at the Walmart sign.
Read it aloud, Becca. Read it aloud.
Headlines that you saw on Facebook, and then you feel like you know the whole story. You know all of the backstory.
Like,
yeah.
McDonald's chicken nuggets are made of pink goop.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen a healthy raw chicken, because it's not beautiful either.
No, but I just mean, like, whatever you saw the scary headline, and then out of guilt or out of fear, you then go off and, I don't know, look down your nose at others. That's
usually
not
it ends
healthy.
up. No, but that's what's funny. It almost universally turns into a abstinence of something, like some kind of a self-righteous withdrawal from fellowship. Do you know what I mean? Like, it never goes quietly into the night, like as if someone said. So, like, if somebody is walking through the Winco and they're like, you know what, I bet's not good for me. I bet these Cocoa Pebbles is a bad choice in my diet. I'm going to skip them this week. Well, they don't have any reason to go blast it out on the internet and the war horns everywhere to tell everyone, guess what? I'm off Cocoa Pebbles, so now you can't feed me normally at any group functions. Like, now, I have become strictly Cocoa Pebble free. Like, who cares? Like, nobody cares. Make your decisions. Get on with your life.
Yeah.
But it's like, I make decisions about what we're eating, what's not healthy, why I don't want to pursue that. It's nothing against that. It's just that if you're getting on some kind of a weird, now the only righteous thing I can do is abstain from crab with a K. Now that I know about these fake seafood processing situations. Do you even know about the workers who make that fake pink dye that goes on it? What's happening there?
Boy.
I just mean there's a lot of things. It's like, we can't take all that on. There's nothing wrong with making decisions.
No.
But the more angsty you get about making them, the more likely you are to be breaking up fellowship with other people over it, looking down on people,
out.
Trying to buy your health with faithful
getting more and more
practices.
of a cranky face and giving yourself wrinkles.
Yeah, that's probably how it's happening. Anyways, I think in general, it's just a good idea to know how little we can actually know anyways.
Yeah.
Like, we be as faithful as we can be with what we have. We try to glorify God. Yes, we are not into the mistreatment of animals.
No,
like,
of course not. But see, that's a different question.
It's a completely different one.
And lots of times people hop off the point real quickly. Well, actually, okay. I was making this point to one of my classes this week. I was saying, here is a really important life skill, is that you be able to distinguish between different kinds of statements. So if I was to say, for instance, hey, this song, the lyrics are not the best. They could use some work. That's one level of claim. If you cannot engage with that without saying, so you're saying I'm going to hell then because I listened to it?
Oh, was that lady with what's his face. Yes.
So that's a completely different issue. Yeah. It's a completely different
claim. No, I didn't say that. Yeah. I said this is not good.
It's sloppy thinking, and it's also the kind of thing that immediately causes fights, because the other person's like, I didn't even say that. And then they're like, you just accused me of going to hell because I listened to the,
You said I don't like my grandma. Everybody likes to freak out about a little bit of something.
So that is actually not engaging honestly with the discussion. But my point here is, like, let's say that you and I are claiming you are not guilty if you buy a product that was unethically produced 4 steps back the chain, back up the chain. That is not the same thing as us saying there's no such thing as an ethical way to produce a product.
Or there's no time that anyone could be responsible for their purchase choices.
But your job before God as a consumer is actually different, and it has a whole different set of responsibilities than your job before God as a producer.
And your job is always
Rachel's just taking off. She's driving. She's like,
They weren't gonna know. I was gonna do it in secret.
No,
they were gonna know because I'm not buckled.
But anyway, your job as a producer, your job as a manufacturer, your job as a company owner, you have a different set of obligations. But your job as a customer is not quite the same thing. Now, at some point they overlap, but you have to be able to distinguish those things.
But I think I would back up even further, just because you were saying what your job is not. What we are saying is that your job universally is to live in the joy of the Lord with gratitude and thanksgiving.
And not be dominated by guilt.
Not be dominated by guilt, and not be dominated by fear or anxiety or social pressure. Or all my friends only let their kids eat Annie's goldfish. If I bought the other kind of goldfish, it would look like I didn't care about them.
Or all the other mothers are doing these supplements for their kids, and I must be a terrible human because I'm not. Or whatever it may be.
Yeah, because I'm not. I don't know right now what their count of healthy gut bacteria is.
Yeah. So if you're being all pressured by worries of whatever kind
that are extra biblical.
Yeah, totally extra biblical.
And so we're saying those are the things you're obligated to do, and as you're interested in or have the freedom and time to enjoy and in gratitude resources, celebrate that, then go for it.
Yeah, and if you've got the money to eat beautiful organic local produce all the time, well, awesome.
Well, have fun with that.
In the meantime, I think we should also all be grateful that we have the option of not getting scurvy, because we can get oranges all year round. Even if they're not the most perfect off-the-tree Florida orange.
I have a soft spot in my heart for the weird-looking tomatoes that are out of season, because I'm like, tomatoes are so good that we have to have them no matter how ugly they are. We'll keep doing it when they're pale.
Yeah.
We'll keep having tomatoes. Yeah. We like it.
And the thing is sure, you're right, an heirloom beautiful tomato that's still warm from the sun.
Well, of course that's better.
That's kind of insane. But when you go around turning up your nose at God's bounty in the grocery store,
and not just what God has done for you, but how many lives of dedication and people's work made this possible for you to have access to these things, and to sneer at that and be like, it's not as nice.
Okay, I do love the cookbook Jerusalem. I've been getting a real kick out of that one lately. It's got amazing recipes in it. However, in the introduction, I was snorting a little bit because he was doing the classic thing of saying that he calls it real food as opposed to the fake food. And he said real food, meaning it was grown by real people with real names
Like, who do you think is bringing
like
in
Israel,
the mass quantity
he said
of beans?
Israel and Palestine or something, instead of nameless, faceless farmers from around the globe. And I was like, but here's the thing. For me, some farmer in Palestine is a nameless faceless guy.
farmer, yeah.
And I'm not going to go saying you're not eating real food because I don't know the farmer's name. Like what
it
kind of
seems
weird
a
thing
little-
is that?
Seems a little lofty.
No, but it's also incredibly snotty and not grateful, because it's like, honestly,
not gracious at all.
no, it's not gracious or grateful. But I mean, like, sure, an orange or a tomato in the winter, well, the oranges are good in the winter, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Out of season, yeah, it's not as good as the one that just came out of wherever. However,
But how wonderful that you can have
isn't
one.
it awesome that we get to eat kind of watery strawberries
It's
just
right, yeah.
when it's not summer?
And there are people who live in areas where you actually could just live off the land with a really diverse diet, but we'd be seriously
No.
up a creek here.
No, we'd have lentils and garbanzos.
We'd have all the beans a person could ever look for and none of the produce for most of the year.
No, we couldn't have any real
So we're
anything
just
outside
saying.
of hummus, but we wouldn't even be able to produce the tahini for the hummus, so we'd just be having ground up garbanzos.
It'd be a hard time. It would not be the best of foods.
Yeah, and so
And when you say, oh, we could have delicious salmon, it's like only if we were commuting daily on a major trip.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, be grateful.
Be grateful and change the world that way. Change the world through the gratitude and enjoyment of what God has given you.
And if you can get the really good tomato, get it. But in the meantime, just be happy for the watery one.
Yeah, or even pass it by if you must. All right, well, we should probably wrap this up. Do you have a tip or a recipe?
I'm just going to say the Jerusalem Cookbook. It's really my favorite. And I don't remember the guys' names because they are
You gave me that cookbook.
Israeli names. But
I need to use it more avidly.
I have been going through that lately with some stuff, and there are some fabulous recipes in there. The hummus is really good, just the basic hummus recipe. And then I did, for this dinner party last week, I did a roasted beet spread with goat cheese and hazelnuts on top. It actually is the most incredibly beautiful
sounds really
color
good.
of all time. And I made one a couple weeks ago that was like lamb that you slice really thin. I can't remember what it was called, but you do the hummus, and then you put the hummus, like you spread it on the plate, and then you put this like pile of little like thin slivers of lamb, and I can't remember all the spices that went into it, but it was amazing. There was like cinnamon, and I mean, it was really good. And you put that on top and then eat it with flatbread. It was quite luscious.
Sounds really
With
good.
a really yummy side salad that had like hunks of flatbread and radishes.
I made a salad that was inspired by a friend, a spring salad dinner. She made hers more beautifully with a seared salmon fillet on top of it.
Okay.
But I have heavier eaters than she has, and I also didn't have salmon and only had chicken. But I made, kind of riffing off of what she did, just made a big salad for dinner, but had blueberries and goat cheese and toasted hazelnuts, and then I did chicken for the meat, but I just steamed a bunch of those tiny new potatoes and threw them in it, and asparagus.
Oh, nice.
All in the salad, and it was super good. But the potatoes, and I did pickled red onions. So then the potatoes helped to make a main dish meal for my family. Like the chicken and the potatoes.
Well,
but I did it with them so hot. It was kind of like the niçoise.
yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't a niçoise salad is the salmon and potato, isn't it? But I didn't put egg in it. But it was good.
While you're on the subject of blueberries and salads, I would also recommend the Pioneer Woman it's like a chicken and blueberry and corn, I think, and it's got like a creamy dill dressing on it and red onions in there. It's yummy. Although now that I say this, I think I might have tweaked the recipe myself and made a sort of different version.
Still
but
sounds
it's
good.
really good. Yeah, and it's a fun summery. It's something different because when the weather changes and you don't know what you're cooking.
Yeah,
anymore.
you're get all disoriented.
Yeah.
What do we do at this time of year? I can't remember.
I know. So anyway, guys, Rachel drove me to my door. I am at my house now. I think that's a hint.
Well, aren't we time's upping?
Probably. I'm just saying. It clearly she would like me to exit now.
No, it's not that, but look at us. We blabbed on for 52 minutes, and I totally need some quarters and a bathroom break at this point. Don't
All
you
right.
know? All right. Until
Well,
next time.
Have fun.
Bye-bye.
I'm a 2009 graduate of New St. Andrews College, and I'm a commercial property manager.
3 kids at Logos, 1 at home still, and I do flowers on the side out of our house. When you have these little people that you're responsible to shepherd, you realize I need to know what I'm talking about because they need to have a firm foundation and they need deep roots so that they don't get blown over and that they're ready to stand up for the truth.
I am a programmer. The language aspect of NSA is a fantastic preparation for any sort of programming.
I'm a real estate broker here in town. I think absolutely the perfect education for being in sales of really any kind.
I actually put it to a lot of great use when I was working in the political realm.
I am a pastor in Central Coast, California. Whatever vocation you take, it'll make you take that seriously because you're seeing it through the lens of the sovereignty and lordship of Christ.
To learn more, visit us online at nsa.edu.